Tonight, the FDA announcing two new initiatives which could have major impacts on the health of America's children. A new study of the nutrients in baby formula and new actions to take prescription fluoride drops and tablets off the market. These fluoride products are typically prescribed by dentists or pediatricians for kids at higher risk of tooth decay and cavities, often the result of drinking water without fluoride. It comes as the Health Secretary, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., has fought to take fluoride out of drinking water supplies across this country. Joining us now to discuss all of it is Dr. Marty McCary, the new Commissioner of the Food and Drug Administration. Dr. McCary, thank you so much for taking the time to join Top Story. We really appreciate it. Let's talk about these prescriptions. You have said these prescription fluoride products pose a risk when ingested by children because they could interact with healthy gut bacteria, which we know is important for things like digestion, as well as just our general immune system. With this announcement, the FDA also cited some other studies suggesting that fluoride is associated with thyroid problems, weight gain, and sometimes a decreased IQ. And yet the CDC has also described the U.S.'s use of fluoride in community water as one of the greatest public health achievements of the 20th century. They say it reduced tooth decay by roughly 25% in adults and children. What are the major concerns you have with these particular products?
Well, good to be with you, Allison. You know, we have to look at the overall child when we talk about health, not just the dentition of the child. If parents should adopt good dental hygiene for their children, toothpaste with fluoride, fluoride rinses, avoiding excess sugar, but giving kid an ingestible prescription fluoride tablet, which right now it is being given to kids as young as 6 months of age, is doing damage to the microbiome. And we know altering gut health in a child can have long-term consequences. There was also a study in JAMA, our top medical journal, that summarized 74 studies on fluoride and found an association between cognitive problems like lower IQ and fluoride in the drinking water. So there's enough cause here to say, let's put the brakes on ingesting fluoride. Let's get some more scientific review. And today the FDA announced that we are planning to take action should that scientific review go in the direction that the studies are suggesting.
And to be clear for our viewers, we're talking about specifically these prescription products. This isn't something the average person would have seen at a drugstore in their neighborhood. Let me ask you how this will actually play out, because I understand the FDA has started the review of these fluoride products, and that review is set to be done by the end of October. After that review, theoretically, the drugs could be removed from the market. Are you talking about having a formal ban of these products, or would this just be a recommendation from the FDA asking manufacturers to not sell them?
Look, if this review that we're planning to do in the next couple months does not affirm what we are already seeing in the medical scientific literature emerging as a significant safety concern to children, we are planning to withdraw prescription ingestible fluoride from the marketplace. Kids that are 6 months of age, where their teeth have not even emerged yet.
But would that be a formal ban or a recommendation? Because they're very different.
I'll tell you, Allison, in my opinion, prescription fluoride is on the market illegally. It was never FDA approved.
Okay, but vitamins also aren't FDA approved. Yeah, but just help me understand, would it be a ban? Like, could we see government action? Would you need Congress involved in that ban? How will it actually play out?
Look, we are going to tell the companies to remove prescription digestible fluoride. These are chewable tablets for kids 6 months of age throughout their childhood, to remove that from the market. We do not believe that the claims on the packaging match any scientific support, and we're going to ask them to remove it from the marketplace.
Understood. Critics have said that banning these products could be the first step to banning fluoride more broadly in the U.S. And some people, as you know, are concerned about a ban like that, given the widely celebrated health benefits of safe and small fluoride usage. Do you believe that fluoride in any dosage is and of itself dangerous?
Well, look, I can tell where you're going with this question, because you made a big assumption there that it's safe and it reduces cavities.
Well, I'm looking respectfully, Dr. McCary, I'm looking at data from the federal government, including some agencies that you work with. I mean, according to the EPA, 0.7 milligrams per liter is the optimal level for fluoride in drinking water, but it has been deemed safe to consume water with up to 2 milligrams per liter of fluoride. So I'm just asking you broadly, given that, do you agree with that assessment? And since there are people who are saying, hey, we're worried this could be banned outright, do you believe fluoride in and of itself, in the dosages that we see used, that it's unsafe?
Look, I believe the CDC website that says that the fluoridation of water is one of the greatest public health achievements in history is misinformation. It is messing up the gut microbiome of children. Gut health is driving overall health. And when you have a surge of chronic diseases, you have to look at what's altering the gut microbiome. It's unnecessary antibiotics, it's ultra-processed foods, it may be other environmental toxins and chemicals that appear in our food supply today. Why else are we seeing such a rise in chronic diseases that were rare a generation ago? 1 in 5 women now has an autoimmune disease. 38% of kids have diabetes or prediabetes. Attention deficit disorder is now like 1 in 12 kids. 1 in 7 are taking medications. Our nation's children are sick. Why does Europe have 3% of their drinking water fluoridated, and we're giving chewable, ingestible, concentrated fluoride tablets on a prescription basis to 6-month-olds? It is messing up their microbiome. The data are clear. If you think fluoride is safe, read the 2024 Cochrane Review. Cochrane is the highest authoritative body in all of clinical medicine, and it has said that there's no association between fluoridated water and cavity rates in permanent teeth.
But my question for you was specifically if you think it is dangerous to consume it. I know that there are multiple countries in Europe, from Italy, France.
It is messing up the microbiome. It is altering the microbiome. Why have I had patients in my career at Johns Hopkins have all this chronic abdominal pain and digestive problems, and they go to Italy and they're suddenly cured of their condition?
So you believe it is unsafe for the American population to consume any amount of fluoride? Medically unsafe?
Fluoride is not driving our chronic disease epidemic. But when you look at the cumulative exposure of all of these things that alter the gut microbiome, it may very well be associated with some of these chronic diseases. And I think the FDA should be erring on the side of safety when it comes to children.
Okay, well, let me move on now and ask you about the FDA's new plan to analyze the nutrients in baby formula. Walk us through that. What exactly are you and the other scientists involved planning to look at with this?
Well, look, as a part of Secretary Kennedy's initiative called Operation Stoic Speed, we have been asked at the FDA to look at the heavy metals that appear in infant formula and baby formula. We've been asked to look at alternatives to the standard products. There's been very little innovation in the baby formula space. And when you get very few product types on the market, sometimes you're more at risk for shortages when there's not as much competition. Moms today want baby formula without seed oil. They want baby formula without added sugar. And if there's a demand for that, we think the FDA should be facilitating the approval of safe and effective baby formula that we know nourishes babies if the data is presented by the companies to show that. There's been very little innovation in this space. As a matter of fact, the way the FDA works, there's a recipe where you have to include some of those ingredients in order to sell it on the marketplace. It's called a monograph. So we want to see more baby formula products come to market to meet that consumer demand. And we are convening the world's top experts on baby formula on June 3rd at the FDA. And we're going to have a public roundtable. We're talking openly about everything we're doing. I've been going on media nonstop explaining our rationale with everything from fluoride in concentrated tablets given to babies to what we're doing on AI, reducing animal testing. We are changing the way inspections are done overseas, so they're not scheduled. They're surprise inspections. I've been on the job 6 weeks now. We're trying to be very forthcoming and transparent about every single thing we're doing, and that's why the baby formula expert roundtable on June 3rd is going to be public.
We will mark that in our calendars, and we certainly appreciate you taking the time to speak with us and go through some questions while we have you. I do also want to ask you about the measles outbreaks across the United States, with cases reported now in at least 30 states this year. Your boss, HHS Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr., has been skeptical of the MMR vaccine in the past. He now says it is the most effective way to prevent the spread of the virus. But at the same time, we have also seen and heard him pushing some false claims that it has not been safety tested. It is something that is largely accepted as safe and effective. It became widespread used in America in the 1970s. So let me just ask you, as the head of the FDA, do you recommend the measles vaccine?
Look, I believe vaccines save lives, and I believe any death from a vaccine-preventable illness is a tragedy. And I do think it's curious, though, the way people are trying to peg the measles outbreak to Secretary Bobby Kennedy, who's focused on children's health.
No, we're not trying to peg it. I'm just trying to understand where your administration stands on vaccines.
Well, I mean, you went right to Secretary Kennedy.
Well,
these are Mennonite communities that haven't been. These Mennonite communities, he's been there.
Okay, he has been there. He has been there for a few months right now.
If you look at those severe cases in the Mennonite communities, that Mennonite community has not been vaccinated since 1800 when Benjamin Waterhouse invented.
But we're not just talking about the Mennonite community. A lot of people live in this country, and there are right now at least 10 active outbreaks in the United States. That's not just the Mennonites. My question for you is, do you
look at the severe
recommend the
cases,
measles
they were in the
vaccines as the head of the FDA, the agency that regulates vaccines? Do you recommend the MMR vaccine for most Americans? Yes or no? As the head of the agency in charge.
I know you want me to recite. I know
no,
you
I would
want
just
me to
like
recite
a yes or no, sir. Respectfully, just a yes or no. It's
I answered your question. I answered your question. I wish you would have the same enthusiasm to address the 20 million kids that are sick with chronic diseases in the United States right now. 20 million kids. We're talking diabetes, asthma, obesity, insulin resistance. We have a chronic disease epidemic, and if you could take 5% of your enthusiasm around this one topic of MMR, which I've already, addressed with you here, and focus on what we're doing to try to make food healthier for kids, to try to increase the number of cures and meaningful treatments that we're trying to deliver to Americans at the FDA, that would be appreciated.
Well, respectfully, sir, I'm enthusiastic about all of it, and I would be happy to talk with you and your agency anytime you would like, and I hope you will join us again. Thank you for your time tonight.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.